Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another weekly episode of Let's Talk Oilers. So the dog days of summer are upon us and the news is getting pretty slim pickings. But we still have a few things to talk about. So today we're going to be covering coaches for the most part. But before that, here's a quick message. Hey all, just a quick mention here. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on the videos you like. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, which helps me. Takes 2 seconds. So thanks in advance. Alrighty, so as I said, the dog days of summer are upon us and news is getting fairly sporadic. That's a good word for it. Sporadic. There's not a lot going on. And there's not going to be a lot going on until probably the camps start to open up. But we did hire some new coaches this week. So let's talk about that. Now, I've heard of one of these guys, and I know nothing about any of them. But they're assistant coaches and goaltender coaches and skills coach. So first off, Paul Coffey is not returning to the bench. Paul Coffey officially not returning to the bench, but staying in the organization. He will be returning to his old job as the, I forget the title, but basically he gives advice to Daryl Katz, the owner. And, so he'll stay in Edmonton or LA or wherever he's going to be located, and that'll be his job. It's more, honestly, I think it's more of a figurehead, thank you for your contribution job than any official role. But, I honestly believe that it was time for Coffey to go. He did great 2 years ago in getting in changing our defense, because prior to him, we were trying to play defense, and that's, other than Ekholm, Nurse, and Kulak, that's clearly not our forte. So Manson's style of trying man-to-man defensive responsibilities, it wasn't working. So Manson went out, Coffey came in, and Coffey got them to be more of a rush-orientated defense. They were more focused on moving the puck up. Unfortunately, that left us very susceptible on the penalty kill and defensively when we were stuck in our own zone. Unless Ekholm, Nurse, or Kulak, or Emerson actually happened to be on the ice. So that was 2 years ago. It worked great. Last year, it didn't work as well. You notice teams had adjusted to Coffey's style. And I think the Panthers totally took advantage of Coffey's defensive zone style, or lack thereof. I really do believe that. And I'm not trying to bash Coffey. He did what he knew to do and what he was good at. Defense was never his forte. So, he came out, and I contributed a lot like Kruger. Remember Kruger that first half a season, coming off the player strike or lockout? It was a lockout, I think. And he caught all the teams by surprise with his European style. And the Oilers went out gangbusters for that first half season. Like, we were top of the league. Hall and Eberle, and Schultz, they were feasting on everyone. But then the league adjusted. And Kruger couldn't adjust. And we ended up missing the playoffs. We got decimated in the second half because all the teams in the league, they go, they're playing the Swedish style. Okay, we know what to do. And it was game over. And Kruger couldn't adjust. I think that's a lot of what happened with Coffey. Is he had this idea and he got it implemented. And our team came out 2 seasons ago gangbusters with this style. And it took the league a full year to adjust. So 2 seasons ago, we did phenomenal on the power play. We did phenomenal on the rush and everything. And, it worked. It really did work. Last season, however, the NHL teams adjusted and it didn't work as well. Our power play was nowhere near as good last year as it was the year before. Our defensive zone play was not good for most of the season last year. Let's just call a spade, and it wasn't very good. Darnell was trying to do too much. Ekholm was injured, so that took him out of the mix. And Kulak was playing up the lineup, and then after that, it was pretty empty. The cupboards were pretty bare for defensive zone coverage, and it just didn't work well. So I think it was time for Coffey to step aside. And I think he realized that. Well, I'm not bashing Coffey. He did what he knew how to do, and he did it very well, like he did his entire career. He did what he knew what to do very well. He just didn't do the rest of it very well. So, yeah, I wish Coffey all the best. But he stepped aside. So we have a new skills coach. So, first off, our new assistant coach is Paul McFarland. Now, McFarland's been floating around the AHL, the juniors, and I believe he had a couple of assistant roles in the NHL without looking it up. So he's not a newbie, but he's also not really a proven commodity. But, Gullickson left for Dallas, so this was Knoblauch's pick. This is the important thing to remember, is these three coaches coming in, Knoblauch picked specifically. So these are Knoblauch. So if they work, Knoblauch's going to get the credit. If they don't work, Knoblauch's going to take the blame. He's all in now. These are his guys. So, Paul McFarland, we'll see what he has to bring. He's going to be taking over the power play, from what I hear. And I think our power play needed to change. I really do. It wasn't anywhere as good last year. Part of that is Coffey with his defensemen and how he had them playing. But a big part of that was Gullickson. We were doing the exact same thing last year as we did the year before. The year before, we set the record for power play. Last year, we were nowhere near as good because we were predictable. And teams knew what to expect from us. And they were able to clog up the middle and shut us down, and we were nowhere near as effective as we were the season before. And a lot of that has to be put on Gullickson not adapting. A lot of the problems we faced last year, I feel, we didn't adapt. Teams adapted to what we did the year before. We did not adapt or change so that those teams couldn't just shut us down. We just kept trying, and even Conor made this mention after the Stanley Cup final. He said it's like we just kept trying to do the same thing over and over, and it wasn't working. Exactly. So I think we needed new, fresh blood in so that they can bring a new wrinkle to the power play. Like, personally, if I was coaching the power play, and I'm not, obviously, but if I was, the first thing I'd go up and I'd tell Bouchard, or actually I wouldn't even tell Bouchard anything. I'd have him watch Zizendo Chara, Al McGinnis, Sheldon Surrey, and Al Iafrate. All big shot defensemen. They had howitzers. And when teams clogged up the center to get in their way, they went head hunting. Simple as that. A couple pucks whiz by somebody's head at 90 to 100 miles an hour, suddenly you're not so willing to stand in front of those shots and things open up. And when things open up, Conor has more room, Leon has more room, Hyman has more room, RNA, everybody has more room, and Bouchard can get his shots on net. But Bouchard was not willing to do that last year, and Gullickson did not have him doing it. So that would be the first thing I would change on the power play, is I would tell Bouchard, if you want to stay on this power play, when they are clogging up the middle and you can't get your shots through, you go head hunting. And if you don't have that in you, we will find somebody that does. Wallman has a hell of a shot. We can put Wallman on the power play. We know he'll do it. Nurse, he doesn't have nearly as strong a shot, but we know he'll do it. Like, Evan doesn't seem to have that gritty, mean streak in him. And yeah, okay, that's great off the ice, but on the ice, we got to see it this year. Just point blank, we got to see it. And if he's not willing to do it, then we got to adapt and put somebody else in that role. Simple as that. That alone would change up our power play, but there's more to it. Like, everybody knew they were trying to set up Leon, so we got to get another aspect to our power play. It's like, okay, they're covering Leon. We switch to plan B. instantly, like boom. You know, it's not, we have to think about it and we have to try to Leon 5 or 6 times and fail. And, you know, no. Recognize that they are covering Leon. They are overprotecting him, because they were. Even on the penalty kill, you would see 2 guys covering Leon at times. So they're killing the penalty. We got the power play. So it's effectively a 5-on-2 at this point. Well, 5-on-3 if you count the 2 covering Leon as one person. And yet we're still trying to get Leon the puck. Now, Leon's got a killer one-timer, and I do believe if we get another aspect to our penalty or our power play, so that we're not so one-dimensional, we're not so focused on getting it to Leon, that will pull coverage off of him, because teams will go, oh crap, we got to cover this too. And that'll spread him out, and suddenly Leon will be open for that one-timer again. You know, but you got to make the change for that change to happen. And that's what we didn't do last year, in my opinion, is we did not make the change. We just kept trying to do the same thing over and over and over. And it wasn't working very often. So, yeah. So Paul McFarland's got his job cut out for him. It's like, it's not going to be easy, because the other thing you got to remember is, like, when Manson tried to change our defense to one-on-one, man-on-man, it didn't work, because our players were either unwilling or unable to play that system. And no matter how much Manson tried to get them to play that system, they couldn't do it, other than, like, Nurse was pretty decent at it, and obviously Ekholm was great, but you know, I can't remember if Manson had Ekholm or not. But anyway, the point is, like, everybody else on our defense, they weren't doing it, you know, and it was either they didn't want to do it or they couldn't do it. So just because you put in a new system doesn't mean it's going to succeed. You got to get the players to buy in. So he's got his job cut out for him, because I think he's actually going to get some resistance to changing up the power play. You know, and so all we can do is wait and see. Like, I'm not going to say he's going to fail. Anyone out there saying any of these coaches are going to fail is an idiot, because we don't know. We have to give them the chance. And if they do fail, then we can say they failed. But maybe they'll succeed, and then we can cheer. You know, but you can't just assume they're going to fail or they're going to succeed. They have to be given the chance to put in their systems. So that was Paul McFarland. The next one is Peter Aubry, goaltending coach. I have absolutely no clue about him. None whatsoever. Never even heard his name in my life. But Dustin Schwartz had to go. As I said in my last video, Schwartz got our goalies to cover the bottom of the net, which is a league trend. Every goalie coach does it, league-wide. But he didn't work on making any of our goalies better in the areas they were weak. Like Skinner is not good at tracking the puck, and he's not good on his glove hand. And he needs work, and he needs a goalie coach that's going to work with him on those and improve those. Is Peter Aubry that guy? I don't know. I hope he is. Crossing fingers. I really hope he is. You know, and if he can get Skinner shoring up his puck tracking and his glove hand while combining what he learned, because he was actually fairly good on the bottom of the net under Schwartz, is just teams, again, they recognized where Skinner was weak and they took advantage of it. Something our team is not willing to do on opposing goalies. And it drives me nuts. And I hope our coaches, be it McFarland or the new skills coach Conor Allen or Knoblauch, I hope they get after the guys and say, hey, when you're playing Bobrovsky, he's literally one of the 2 best goalies on the ice, like on the bottom 25% of the net. So 85% of your shots have to go to the top 25% of the net. Like, none of this trying to force it on the ice level, because it wasn't working. Again, they were trying to do something that wasn't working, and they just kept trying to do the same thing and the same thing and the same thing over and over and over. And that's a mental issue. So I hope the coaches can burrow through the players and get them to realize this. Like, they have to make adjustments on the ice. They're all skilled beyond belief. Like, Edmonton's got such a skilled team. So, yeah, Peter Aubry's our goaltending coach, and it's really simple. He's got to get Stuart Skinner to become better in the areas he's weak in. It's really that simple. And if Skinner does that, maybe I eat some crow and he actually becomes a legitimate starter. But right now, with his glove and his puck tracking, he's a backup that shows flashes of being able to do the starter position. He needs to get better with his glove, and he needs to get better with his puck tracking. And then the rest is on the team in front of him. If the team plays like shit in front of him again, well, you can't blame Skinner, and people need to stop blaming Skinner when the team plays like shit in front of him. You know, it's a team game. Everybody has to do their job. So the final coach hired is Conor Allen. He's the skills. I believe he's taking over the penalty kill. And I did not like our penalty kill last season. And one of the reasons I did not like our penalty kill last season is they kept putting frickin' Evan Bouchard on it. Evan Bouchard should never be on the penalty kill. So I hope this coach can drive that into their heads to only put defensive players on. Like, I understand you put out McDavid or Leon, but they're forwards to try to get some offense while you're on the penalty kill. They're forwards to rush the puck. You need your defense to be defensive on the penalty kill. They need to clear the front of the net. They need to block shots, and they need to be physical when needed. And Evan Bouchard refuses to do any of those three things. Nurse does them, Ekholm does them, Kulak does them, Emberson does them, Wallman does them. So we got 5 defensemen coming in that you can utilize on the penalty kill. So there is absolutely no reason to be putting Bouchard out on the penalty kill. None. He is a one-dimensional offensive defenseman. So utilize him as a one-dimensional offensive defenseman. That doesn't mean penalty kill time, and that doesn't mean when we're up 3-2 and the other team pulls their goalie and they're attacking us 6-on-5, Bouchard shouldn't be out there. We need players to make sure the puck doesn't go in our net. That is their number one job. Now, if they get an empty net goal, that's bonus. But the number one job is to make sure the puck doesn't go in our net. And we need players that are committed to doing that. It's that simple. So I wish Conor Allen, again, I've no clue who he is. Never heard of him before. But I wish him all the best. And I hope he can get our penalty kill back up to snuff. You know, and I think, honestly, the signing of Lazar is going to help that. Lazar, Fredericks, they should be figures on our penalty kill. Now, I am worried. I keep hearing a rumor, and it's only a rumor, so let's not get too panicked about it, but I keep hearing this rumor that they want Matthew Savoy on the penalty kill. Matthew Savoy is tiny. He's soft. He's not physical. He's a skill player. He's an offensive skill player. Now, I give Savoy all the credit in the world that he went up to the coaches when he was in the AHL last year and said, I want to work on my penalty killing and my defense. Can you put me on the penalty kill? And they did. And apparently he was serviceable. But that's the AHL. That's not the NHL. And he wasn't amazing. He was serviceable. But that's great because his skill set is offense. It's like what I say about Bouchard. Bouchard's offense is way up here, but his defense is way down at the bottom. Now that he signed that 10.5 contract, I want his offense way up here, but I want his defense at around, say we're on a scale of 1 to 10. Bouchard's defense right now I have at a 2, and his offense at an 8.5. Okay, I want his defense at a 5. So I'm not asking him to be a shutdown defensive specialist because he's never going to be that. I just want him average, making the plays that he was taught, like not making the mistakes that he keeps making. These mistakes were he was told not to make in juniors, in bantams, in midgets, and like all the way down into minor hockey. You were told not to make these mistakes, but he always makes these mistakes. I want those mistakes removed from his game. I want him at a 5, just an average defense. Not a standout, not a shutdown. Just, I want him at an 8.5 offense and a 5 defense. If he can get to that level, those numbers, I'll shut up about Bouchard. I really will. But I see no indication that he's going to make that jump from a number 2 to a number 5. You know, he's been at 2 for a number of years now, and there's been no improvement there. So, and that's my concern with Savoie. I give Savoie all the credit in the world for working on his defensive ability. He recognized that was a weakness in his game, and he asked to improve it. And I wish every player out there did that. I really do. So mad props to Matt Savoie for doing that. But that doesn't mean you walk into the NHL and become a penalty killer. What it means is on the third line, he can do offense, but he's not completely devoid of defensive skill. That's what it means. Doesn't mean he walks in on the penalty kill. So these rumors of him being put on the penalty kill, they terrify me, because if that happens, I see us getting scored on again. I see our penalty kill being weak again. You know, and I'm not trying to rag on Savoie, though I got to admit, I don't think he's going to be on the team for long. I think he'll be in the AHL this season again. And the reason is, it sounds like the Oilers are really in love with Isaiah Howard, and it sounds like he's going to get the first chance. Now, if he fails, then I could see Savoie getting the chance. But if Howard succeeds, I don't see there being a spot for Savoie, because there's also Noah Phillip. And first off, I don't think Phillip will clear waivers if they try to send him down this season. Even though he's on a 2-way contract, I think the minute they put him on the waiver wire, he's gone. So they got to keep him up, and they got to give him a 30-game tryout. And if he doesn't function after 30 games, then you try to send him down, and maybe doesn't get picked up because other teams will see that he's not ready. But you got to give him the chance, because if you try to send him down at the start of the year, he's gone. Boom. Somebody will grab him on the waiver wire. Noah Phillip has earned the opportunity to be one of the rookies on the team this year. He's earned it. He's put in his time. He's put in the effort. And I think he can be a third-line center. Now, maybe you start him as a fourth-line center this season to prove himself, but I think he can be a third-line center on the Oilers. And unlike Savoie, he's got some size to him. He's got some physicality to him. I mean, like Savoie, he's a great skater, so he checks that mark too, but he's got the size and the grit and the intensity that Savoie lacks, you know. And so, yeah, I think they got to give Phillip a chance, and it sounds like they're going to give Isaiah Howard the first opportunity. So, you know, we'll see if he can stick. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he played the AHL last year. He's coming from college, so chances of him sticking are actually kind of low, to be honest. But that's why he agreed to the trade, is Tampa was not going to give him the opportunity this year. So he agreed to the trade to the Oilers because they said they were going to give him the opportunity. So it sounds like they're going to give him the opportunity, and we'll see what happens. So, yeah, I'm a little concerned about the power play just based on the rumors I'm hearing. But, yeah, we'll see. We shall see. So the reason Knoblauch came out and told us why the goalie coach was made, he said, "It was a difficult decision to make, but we are looking to make our goaltenders better. There were times they were exceptional, and that's true, but there were other times not as much. I think Peter is ready for this opportunity to help our goalies." He's talking about Peter Aubry, the new goalie coach. And it's like I just said, I don't think Schwartz worked on the goalies where they were weak. He just worked on positioning, you know, covering the bottom of the net, being as big as you could at the bottom of the net, which again is a league trend. So he's not the only one that does this, but I don't think he was working on these goalies where they were weak. And I really do believe that's where Peter Aubry has to focus. He has to get Skinner's glove hand working, and he's got to get Skinner tracking the puck better. Ironically, our other goalie, whose name is escaping me now, old age really does suck. He's actually a more rounded goalie than Skinner. I just don't think his potential kind of maxes out lower than what Skinner's potential is. I think that's the difference between them. So I think, if Aubry can work on the weakness of these two guys, yeah, maybe they're serviceable. I don't know. We'll have to see. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in Stuart Skinner. I personally think he's a backup right now, a very exceptionally good backup. So he's like that close to being a starter. But I just don't think Schwartz ever got him over the hump to be a legitimate starter. So we're going to have to see if Peter Aubry can do it. The other one I wanted to talk about today, as I said, this is going to be a fairly short video because there's not much going on. Curtis Lazar is talking about his injury last year. And he says, Curtis Lazar says he's moving exceptionally well. Although Lazar only tallied 5 points last season, there's hope he can get close to 25 points he put up 2 years ago. He recently stated, "My body feels right. I'm moving exceptionally well in the gym," which has translated into some pretty good on-ice sessions already. So the real test is on ice. Like, you can do practices, you can work in the gym, but you never know until you get on the ice. And usually, even on the ice, you don't know 20, 30 games in. That's why I say for Phillip, they got to give him a 30-day. It can't be a 30-game tryout. They can't be a 5, 10-game tryout like Knoblauch was screwing around last year with him. You got to give him full 30. Let him find his groove, get into his groove, and then at the end of the 30, we know what we have. And it'll be the same for Lazar. He'll probably come out, he'll go gangbusters for a few games, and then he'll start to feel sore because his body's not used to it. And he'll have to work through that soreness over the next 10, 15, 20 games until he's truly into game shape, And we saw that with Connor Brown 2 years ago. It's like Connor Brown, he was ready to play at the start of the season, but he wasn't ready to play until basically the final 20% of the season is when he actually stepped up and started playing at his skill level. The rest of the season, he was struggling, trying to get up there, trying to get his speed, trying to get his coordination, trying to get game ready. So, yeah, so Lazar has given us good indications, but we're going to have to see. And that's all I have for you this week. So if you like the video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel. A like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. I always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting and communicating, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.